Okay, Harshit, you tell me what is the last thing that you have to you have written in your notebook. You were present in the previous class, right?
Ma'am, actually was discussing about the hormones in the plants.
Hormones in the plants. So we have completed the plant hormones, right, students? Okay, so today we're going to Aisha, can you also confirm what is the last thing that you have written in your notebook? Yes,
Same
Aisha.
th
Hmm. Tell me.
same thing.
Plant hormones.
Yes, ma'am.
Meaning till abscisic acid it was over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. All right, students. So we're going to start the entire revision of this chapter yet again, so that it will be crystal clear to every single person in the class. Okay. Now, all of you, have you people started to learn the chapter? Yes or no?
Yes.
Everyone has?
Yes.
Or some of you have? Okay. All right, we'll see. We'll see about that. Okay, who can tell me what is the structural and functional unit of our nervous system? The easiest question.
Nerve cell.
What is the name of the nerve cell?
Neuron.
Neuron. Correct. All right. So starting with the control and coordination, let us look at some of the important terms yet again. Who can tell me something about stimulus? Anything?
Ma'am, stimulus is an environmental change that is detected by our body.
Very good. Exactly. Meaning, see, whatever response that it is produced by our body, it is actually to a stimulus that has been provided to us. So when we talk about the stimulus, so it is an agent or a sudden change in the external or the internal environment, and this causes a change in the organism or its body part. So that is what we call as a stimulus, meaning it is a very sudden means a very quick change that occurs, and because of this we produce variety of responses. Then comes response. Now we know that whenever a stimulus, no matter whatever is the stimulus, whenever the stimulus has been provided, so we produce a response to that stimulus. And what is that response? It is the change in the organism resulting from a stimulus. Any kind of change that occurs inside an organism as a result of stimulus, or sort of you can imagine it like a reaction. Clear? Also, students, this is to all. Since we are doing the chapter again, this is a revision for some. And Ibad, this is your first class with me, right?
Yes, no.
Okay, so this is the first time you're studying this chapter by me. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me, okay?
Okay.
And yes, every single student must switch on their videos throughout the class until I ask you to switch it off. And that applies to every single one. Galvin and Gianna, it applies to you too also. So please switch on your videos and don't make me ask it several times. The rules are for everyone. Gianna, you also switch on your video. All right. So now the next thing is receptor. Now see, we can sense that any, you can say, stimulus is being provided, any change is happening because of the presence of certain receptors in our body. So these receptors, they're nothing but the nerve cells that are there in our body. Very specialized nerve cells which are present in our body. And what they do is that they initiate impulses. Sort of imagine it like initiating a signal. So whenever any stimulus has been received, it creates a signal, and then immediately the signal is carried to the central nervous system. Now, our central nervous system, it has two components. It has brain and the spinal cord. So as soon as the impulse, or you can say signal, is initiated, it gets transmitted to the central nervous system. Then comes lastly the effectors. Now see, whenever a stimulus, you can say the receptor, see, whenever the receptors, they take up the stimulus and they send it to the CNS, now our body produces a response. We know that. Now our responses are produced with the help of effectors. Now, for example, you're walking. If someone is calling you, you heard it, your ears helped you to do so, and then you're walking towards that person. So that walking is happening because of what? Your muscles, your bones, right? Because of, with the help of your muscles and bones only you walk. So with that only, the effectors, the muscle in that case becomes the effector. So if it is a muscle, it will contract. Or if it is a gland which will make you produce certain hormones in your body, so if it is a gland, it will secrete the hormone. So whenever they receive the impulse, the effector acts accordingly. So the effector can be a muscle or it can be a gland. If the effector is a muscle, then it will contract. And if the effector is a gland, then it will secrete the hormones or whatever substance that it is supposed to. So these are the four most basic terms related to the control and coordination. Any doubts? Do you people have anything to ask up until now? Yes, no, maybe something. Nod your heads. Okay. Moving forward, we'll talk about the central nervous system. We are talking about CNS. CNS is lot, right? So CNS stands for Central Nervous System, and it has two components. The first component is the brain, and the second component is the spinal cord. So our central nervous system is made up of two components, and they are working in a very coordinated manner so as to perform variety of different functions. Now talking about the functions of the nervous system. All in all, we must understand what our nervous system performs or what is the function. So the first thing is that we are aware of our surrounding or our environment. Why? Because of the presence of sense organ, which helps us to sense the world around us. How many sense organs do we have, students?
5.
5 sense organs. Eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue. 5 sense organs are there, and they help us to be informed about the world around us. Now, this is the first and the most important function of the nervous system. Now, coming on to the second function, see, all of the activities of our body that we can do whenever we want to do. For example, if I ask all of you to stand up right now, all of you would do so. I asked you all to switch on your camera, you did, because that is under your control. Now, if I become very cruel and I ask you all to be like, okay, students, I don't care, you people have to stop your heart from beating right now. Will you be able to do so? Then actually now that I'm seeing every single student of my class, all of you are wearing specs. Every single student, all of you are wearing specs. Okay. Anyway, the next example that I was going to give is that I'll be like, okay, students, now take off your specs, and I'll bring a very sharp object and I'll bring it close to your eyes. And I'll be like, you don't have to blink. No matter what happens, you can't blink. Will you be able to do that? If I bring it very close to your eye? No, you can't. So there are certain actions in our body that we can do whenever we want to do. And there are certain actions that we can't do on our own. Like we can't control it. So all those activities or all those actions of our body that are under our control, we call it as the voluntary actions or voluntary activities. So our central nervous system, it controls every single voluntary activity with the help, like you might have seen, or if you have seen in movies or stuff, you might have seen that any person who undergoes a very heavy brain surgery because of an accident or anything, right, they're not able to use their hands. They can't walk. Walking is a very far thing. They sometimes forget to like memorize or recognize people, right? Why? Because the nervous system is that important, isn't it? It controls all of our activities. It makes us who we are. So The voluntary activities, they are also controlled by the central nervous system. Moving forward, now what are the voluntary activities? We have running, walking, writing, anything that you can do on your own is voluntary. Now coming on to the involuntary activities. All those activities that are not under our control, we call it as involuntary activities, such as beating of the heart, breathing, blinking. That at night, all of us sleep, right? We sleep peacefully. Do we have to tell our body every 5 minutes, hey, you have to breathe for me? Hey, you have to breathe for me. We don't have to do that, right? Because our involuntary system, like the nervous system, is also coordinating the involuntary activities of our body. So the beating of the heart, the breathing, the blinking, all of these come under the involuntary activities, and this is regulated by the central nervous system. Then comes the last one, that is our nervous system enables us to remember, it enables us to think, and it enables us to reason. Now, I ask questions in the class and you people are able to answer to me most of the time. Why? Because of your nervous system only. Sometimes you're not, because of your nervous system. You're able to think and answer again because of your nervous system, and you can distinguish from like what is right, what is wrong, what you should not do, right? So all of it is because of your nervous system. So are all the four most important functions of our nervous system clear to you all? Does anyone have any doubts anywhere? Okay, good. Now we'll be talking about, like I asked, what is the structural and functional unit of our nervous system? So it is a neuron. Just like how the unit of life is? The unit of
Cell.
life is?
Cell.
Very good, cell. So just like how cell is the unit of life, same way, neuron is the unit of our nervous system. If you remove neuron, our nervous system will be nothing, it will be zero. So now talking about the neuron, it has three basic parts. It has the cell body, which is also known as a cyton. It has several branch-like projections that are known as dendrites. And then it has a one very long projection called as the axon. So three major parts of the neurons are there. And this is how a neuron roughly looks like. Right, this central part is the cell body. It has a prominent nucleus, a very well-defined nucleus, and it is surrounded by cytoplasm. Then there are these branch-like structures that arise from the cell body, and we call them as the dendrites. Now their function is to sort of like gather different impulses and bring it to the cell body or the cyton. Then this long portion that you're seeing, this is the axon, right? And the axon is responsible for the conduction of impulse from one neuron to another neuron. Now moving forward, what will happen is that this axon is because our nerve impulses, they are transmitted, and many a times the axon has been ended with a swollen bulb-like structure, which we call as bulb, or you can say nerve endings. And in the nerve endings, there is the presence of neurotransmitter called as the acetylcholine. So you can say that the nerve endings are the storehouse of neurotransmitter. Any doubts? Now, do you see that I have drawn here boxes on top of axon? These boxes are drawn so as to show the insulation or show a layer that is present on the axon. So depending upon that layer is called as myelin sheath. Okay, the layer which surrounds the axon is called as the myelin sheath. Now, those axons that have the myelin sheath present, they are known as myelinated axon. And those axons that do not have the myelin sheath present on them, we call them as the non-myelinated axon. So, myelinated and non-myelinated are the two types of axons. Now, talking about what is the function of myelin sheath. So first of all, it is a layer that has insulating property. It insulates the area of the axon, and This myelin sheath is made up of proteins and many fatty substances. Okay, it is composed of that. Now, what does it do? It allows the electrical impulse to be transmitted quickly and efficiently. It does not let the electrical impulse get lost. And it like provides a very smooth transmission of the electrical impulses in the cell. Like from one neuron to another neuron, very easy and very smooth transmission of impulses happen. So that is what the function of myelin sheath is. So all those axons that do have the myelin sheath present on them, we'll call it as the myelinated axon, and the ones that do not, we'll call it as the non-myelinated axon. After that comes the synapse or a gap. See, what happens in between two neurons, meaning the part where the first neuron is ending and the part where the second neuron is starting. There is a certain gap or a space present. So that space is known as the synapse. So talking about the synapse, it is the space between two neurons and it is present between the nerve endings of one neuron and the dendrites of another neuron. So it starts from the nerve endings of one neuron and it sort of like changes from the dendrites of another. And what is the significance of this particular space? It is the place where neurotransmitters, they are released by one neuron, and once they are released by like neuron number one, it gets received by neuron number two. So that is what the function of synapse is. Now, if you look at this diagram, so this is neuron number one. Here, whenever the acetylcholine will be released, it will travel through the synaptic area and then that will be received by the dendrites of the next neuron. So always remember, whenever we say a synapse, right? So a synapse is a gap-like area wherein it connects the nerve endings of one neuron to the dendrites of the another neuron. So it connects two neurons, or you can say that it is the space present in between two neurons. Is it clear to you all?
Yes.
Okay. How many of you in the class have not done this chapter with me, students? I know Ibad, and apart from that, who else? Faizan, have you done this chapter with me?
Yeah, this is my second class, I think.
This chapter is completed. Have you like completed this chapter with me?
No.
Okay, please don't use your phone. Concentrate in the class for 1 hour,
Yeah.
then you can use your phone. Anyone else who has not done this chapter with me? Okay. Now, since you people do not have the
Ma'am,
notes, yes,
I had a doubt.
ask.
What's the importance of acetylcholine?
Acetylcholine. See, acetylcholine. Look, have you ever read about an electric circuit? It starts from a switch. There are wires that come and then the bulb glows, right? The circuit, normal. So when we talk about an electric circuit, what do you think? How does the bulb glow? Because the electricity flows through the wire, isn't it? Same way, imagine neurons and the nerves in our body to be like wires. There are wires in our body, but the only thing is that they do not carry electricity, right? So they carry impulses. Now, impulse is our signal. Then only we understand things. Then only we are able to do stuff. So this acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter, it helps that signal to be transmitted from one neuron to the like another neuron, and from this neuron to another. Like from neuron to neuron, it connects every neuron. Meaning it creates like a series of neurons together so that the impulse, whatever is the impulse, goes to the brain. So it is a chemical. Okay, it is a chemical. Clear? Okay. Now, students who have not written down this thing, so you people can take down the notes. Okay, and tell me once you're done. So I'll scroll the screen for you. You people can switch off your video. And like all of the other students also, if you have any points missing, anything you want to rewrite or stuff, you can do so. Okay. So now, Faizan and Ibad, you people note it down and just inform. Done, student? Faizan, Ibad, you tell me, are you people done?
Yes.
Yes, bro.
Done, students? Shall I scroll?
Yes.
Done, students?
Yes.
Yes, students, are you done? Yes, students, are you done? Ibad and Faizan?
Teacher, I'm just writing the last.
Okay, okay. What about you, Ibad? All right, done.
Yes.
Okay, now moving forward, see, we're going to see that the axons, they have swollen endings, and we know that they are known as the nerve endings. Now, those nerve endings of the axon, they have a chemical which is present inside of them, and that chemical is known as acetylcholine. And this acetylcholine, it is a kind of neurotransmitter. Now, moving forward, we'll have the different types of neurons that are found in the nervous system. There are three basic types of neurons that are found in the nervous system. There is sensory neuron, motor neuron, and then there is association or relay neuron. Now, when we talk about the sensory neuron, so they are responsible for carrying the impulses from whatever receptors are there in our body up until the CNS. So as soon as we receive the stimulus, the signal that is initiated, it is carried by the sensory neuron to the central nervous system. Then the second one is the motor neuron. So once the impulse go to the central nervous system and the central nervous system processes it, meaning it tells us what we have to do with it, then that impulse from the CNS to the effector is brought about, or you can say carried by the motor neuron. Lastly, there comes the association or relay neuron. Now, these are the neurons that are responsible for connecting the sensory neuron and the motor neurons together. They form a connection in between the sensory and the motor neurons together. So, this is the various kinds of neurons that are found in our nervous system. Any doubts up until now, students? Everything is clear till now? All right. Okay. So now, Faizan and Ibad, you people can take down this also, and we'll keep it actually till here only. Okay. So you people can
Okay.
note this down.